You mind doing me a huge favor while I'm going? Run up there and ask him for his torch. You mind doing me a huge favor while I'm going?
We will be starting momentarily, guys. Just give us a second.
Today's cigar, Rocky Patel, vintage 1992. Again, we only smoke the good stuff. We only smoke the good stuff.
Send them up together.
My torch. Because it's too windy for the matches. And, we had to do it. EJ, he's always in relaxed mode, but I had to let y'all know that I can, switch it up too, because I am the boss. Don't ever forget that.
Did you know that I have not worn a suit since I was 18 years old?
I seen your wedding photos too. I seen you were like, you were like mad fly. But that's your style, man. You don't ever want to be comfortable. We're in 2019 right now, man. It's a different world. You kids are changing the entire world, for sure. Rocky Patel vintage 1992. It's a great smoke. It's what you do when you smoke a cigar. Let me teach y'all real fast, right? You never put the directly on. You just let it touch the tip so you don't burn it. You don't want to taste that. You don't want to burn the tobacco, so you roll it. Oh.
All right, you got to.
It was too windy for the matches. Yeah, thank you, sir.
Ben, you let me know whenever you're ready. And then we can get the audio rolling, and then we'll.
All right, I'm ready when you are.
Move this to the center position,
so we can see. I like doing these podcasts with EJ because he knows all the kids. I remember there was a time in life where I knew all the kids. I know none of the kids now. You ready? But I do know 7-on-7, and I can tell if you're a scrub or if you're not.
So we are about to start in 3, 2, 1. Welcome into the Pylon 7-on-7 podcast. I'm your host, EJ Holland. Alongside me is my co-host, Baron Flannery.
Pleasure to be here, EJ, like always.
So today we have a big show. Thanks for everybody that listened last week for our first episode. If you have any suggestions, want to submit any questions, you can find me at EJ Holland 24/7. You can go ahead and mention the Pylon Twitter account, Pylon 7-on-7. Make sure to follow that as well. Baron has a weird handle. I don't really even know what it is.
It is Pylon CEO _. Pylon CEO _. And then also follow the Pylon page, Pylon 7-on-7. Very easy. PYLON 7-on-7.
So, like I said, we have a big episode today. We had a huge tournament over the weekend in Atlanta, Pylon Atlanta, and we have probably my favorite tournament, Pylon New Orleans. It's going to be pretty epic. So let's go ahead and start off recapping. First, Baron, first of all, let's talk about the champions. C1N Blue, so Cam Newton's team, one of Cam Newton's many teams that were there, ended up capturing the title, knocking off Miami Immortals in the finals. What were your overall impressions on C1N Blue? Because we were talking before the show, and it doesn't seem like we necessarily aligned.
Yeah, well, I thought they were very good. I thought that they had a receiver. They had a receiving core, one of the best receiving cores that I've seen on any 7-on-7 team in the country this year. They were super coached. I mean, they were well coached, man. They were always open. Coach put them in the right position all the time. Defense could have strapped up a little bit better. Miami Immortals was able to do what they wanted to do pretty much, but they made the stops when they needed to make the stops, and that was big. But I think when you talk about a 7-on-7 team, as a team and not just individuals, it comes down to a complete package. And they had the swag obviously. They had great coaching, and then they had big-time players on offense, and they weren't able to be stopped. They scored on every single drive. I mean, there were no drives, I think, that they were stopped on. And so, when you're able to put up points like that in a 30-minute game, 25-minute game, running clock, it's hard to beat.
So I thought C1N Blue was very, very good and very efficient. And I think that's the best way to describe them. Efficient. You're right. They scored. They methodically drove down the field. They had a couple of playmakers here and there. E.J. Williams, Jimmy Callaway, their quarterback, Carlos Del Rio, was also efficient. I feel like everybody was efficient. And
who was the receiver who had the hurt thigh?
E.J. Williams.
Man, he was a monster.
So E.J. Williams was great. Jimmy Callaway was great. Carlos Del Rio was efficient. But I don't know. I don't necessarily.
Are they prospects?
They are. I mean, E.J. Williams is a guy that many think is going to end up at Clemson. Jimmy Callaway starting to garner a lot of interest. He does have some D1 offers. Carlos Del Rio at quarterback has offers from schools like Florida and Oregon, etc.
The quarterback, very good quarterback, young, raw talent. He had a cannon, but he couldn't control it all the time. That was the only thing that I thought about them when they start playing national competition might get them. Because when you start playing national competition, those defensive backs get a little bit better, and those receivers aren't going to be as wide open. And so, sometimes he'd be all over the place with his ball, but he had a cannon. And he made the strikes when he needed to make the strikes. He always made the right throw when they needed it, man. He threw one comeback, hit this boy in the chest so hard. It was like, I was like, ugh. That is Sunday type of talent. And he trains with Quincy Avery. He's obviously, under Cam Newton. And so he's going to be a big time kid.
Yeah. I mean, look, they did have good players. They were very efficient. You have to give credit where credit is due. They won it all. Bless the babies. Bless the babies. You deserve the credit. You won the championship. But did I think they were the best team there? I wouldn't say that I thought they were the best team there. It's kind of like that. It's kind of like the NCAA tournament, right? Pylon Atlanta was a big tournament. It was kind of one of those where they just were efficient and they just caught fire. They got the momentum. They were able to make plays when they needed to. But I didn't necessarily think they were like a 6 seed coming in and winning the tournament is what I kind of viewed them as. Going into the tournament, when we were talking about favorites, C1N Black is the C1N top team. They have all the studs, all these loaded guys. C1N Black got bounced in the second round. C1N Blue just kind of methodically made their way to the championship and won it. And we
kind of talked about that last week. Just because you got the studs, the chemistry, the coaching, not being able to get up at the right time, winning a big game. CYN Black, they won a huge game that they should have lost. And the referee, man, we pay the guys to do a job, and we let them do their job. I'm not getting in the middle of referees doing their job, or else you won't have referees coming back. So the referee did it messed up a call, but it ended up helping Cam Newton's team win. And so they came off of extremely high. I mean, that was like their championship. They were celebrating, ran on the field, so on and so forth. And when you're up like that, and then you rest for a game or two, and you have to come back up, that's difficult to do in any situation. I mean, if you look at basketball, it's kind of off topic, but, a lot of times when teams and organizations win a big one that they're not supposed to win, they're like, yeah, and then they come out flat the next game. And I think that's what's happened to Cam's team, man, because they won a big close one that kind of came down to an overtime win, and they just didn't come out to play them in the very next game. And so, that's what 7-on-7 is about. It's a long day. You're out there all day. You have to stay focused all day, and if you have any lapse in a 25-minute running clock game, you can be knocked off.
Yeah, my point wasn't necessarily to say, they weren't the best team from a recruiting talent perspective. I thought C1N Black just wasn't very good, even though they had all that talent. I don't think they were one of the better teams there. They weren't. They really weren't. They went 1-2 in full play. They had that big overtime win, and then they got bounced the next round. So I really don't. I was more so making the argument.
Who do you think was the big goal?
I think the two best teams were Carolina Stars, which they played C1N Blue in the semifinals, and look, we're not here to bag on the refs, but there were some calls that went the right way.
Do your job, man. You make my job very difficult. Do your job, please.
So they, like I said, there were some calls that just went their way, and the ball just bounced their way. There was a couple of different things that allowed C1N Blue to win that game. So I thought Carolina Stars was the best, one of the better teams, and the other one was Max X from Detroit. I thought was the best team. They lost to a very good Domo team, which also is up there. Who came with 8 players, by the way. Yeah, we'll talk about them in just a second. But yeah, Max X lost to Domo in the quarterfinals. And the way they lost is they went up 14. They were up by 14. They had a phantom false start penalty down inside the 5. Domo came back, gained some momentum, and they lost in OT. But Max X, I thought, was the best team there. I would have really liked to see Max X against those were the best. And then we talked about Miami Immortals in the preview about how they're just kind of efficient. Obviously, C1N Blue beat them in the championship. But if I had to pick the 2 best teams, I think it was Carolina Stars and Max X. But, of course, they didn't win the championship. And that's kind of... And they weren't even in the championship. Yeah, and they weren't in the championship. And they weren't even in the championship. And so we were talking about it, previous to getting started. Winning matters, at least to me. And, it matters because it's not easy to do. Pylon is a gauntlet. It's a long day. Everybody comes and brings their A game to Pylon. I think winning Pylon means a little bit more than winning anything else because you get your street cred in Pylon, right? I mean, that's where you get your rep. Like if you're an organization that wants to be big time, if you don't win a Pylon, people look at you like, you're not really that dope. And there are tournaments out there that are great. Obviously there are some other great tournaments out there, but some of them. They're not as intense, man. They don't want to win as bad. And so, to win a Pylon event, that is a major feat. And, you got to tip your hat to CYN Blue for sure. Yeah, I mean, I thought they were very, very good. I thought, like I said, there were some others, like just to go back on those 2 teams, Carolina Stars had some big-time playmakers all over the field. Will Shipley, who's actually a running back, came up with 2 catches to win 2 games to advance to the Final Four. I thought he was very good. I thought Ray Greer, who's committed to North Carolina, was extremely good. Max X, just playmakers all over the field. Malik Carr, Christian Fitzpatrick, Kai Page, all those guys were very, very good. But yeah, I mean, to bounce back on Domo really quick, I do want to hit on them. They made it to the Final Four. They had 8 players, man. How crazy is it to go to the Final Four in a loaded Atlanta tournament with 8 players? Have you ever seen anything like that? Not often. But if it's going to be done, it's going to be by a team from Florida. And I don't mean to make anybody in any other state mad or any other team mad, but the fact of the matter is those Florida dudes are just a little bit different. They eat, sleep, and football. This is what they do. They're just gamers. They come with a different type of swagger, and they're hungry. And so, if it's going to be anybody, that was the team that you'd say, okay, even Miami Immortals. I mean, they didn't come with their top dogs. I mean, it certainly wasn't a B team, and Coach Rudy would say, man, do not call my team no B team. Anybody that rocks with me is a certified stud. And but they were young, they were 9th and 10th graders. And so, those Florida kids, man, they come and they play, and it's just a little bit different type of, swag that they come with, man. They're hungry. Yeah, I mean, I was super impressed to go that deep with 8 players. Yeah. You just don't see it. And I mean, I went over to their coach because, I mean, it was funny. We were in the middle of the Sweet 16, and I saw you for like the first time all tournament long. And I was talking to you. You were telling me I was telling you these are the top teams that I'm seeing. And you were like, "What about Domo? Domo's really, really good." And I was like, "Man, I'll have to check them out." So I went to go see Domo against Max X, which was like one of the most epic games of the tournament. And when they beat Max X, I was like, "Oh my god!" And when I went over to their coach, and I was like, "Hey, who are all these kids? Who are these dudes? Who are these guys? Get out the van with just 8 dudes, man, with some backpacks and some shirts." And so it's super hilarious because he tells me, "Oh, they all have D1 offers. Talk to all of them." So I did. I thought Janine J, and they weren't like major D1 guys. guys. They all had smaller D1s. I mean, there's, Dion Bowie at 2022 already has like a Georgia offer, but mostly it was guys with like Colorado and Maryland. But they were just really impressive. Jaheim Jenkins, I thought, was one of the top overall players in the tournament. He was a two-way stud for them. You mentioned Miami Immortals having really young talent. Anton Coney, I thought, was really great. He's a little on the smaller side, but he made some terrific catches, played both ways as well. Miami Immortals had an underrated guy named Morris Hall, who was playing wide receiver and DB. So Coney and Hall, obviously on the same team, they made some big plays. So I think those were really the teams that stood out the most. Were there any other squads that caught your attention out in Atlanta?
I mean, those we pretty much hit it. I did like watching Gas Crew. I did like watching them. They played feisty and gritty. I liked watching Carolina Takeoff. Can't think of the team that lost to Cam Newton Black in the Elite Eight. Can't think of their team name right now, so I apologize for that. But they were pretty good. And so what I'll do is I'll make sure I go back to the Zorts app. If you guys want to watch any of these games, by the way, all of them are still on Baller TV. You can go back and watch every single game on Baller TV. But those are some of the ones I liked. I like watching Gas Crew. They were pretty good.
I did like NC Takeoff. I thought it was a really interesting team because they were also all underclassmen. They were 9th and 10th graders. And a lot of people didn't know this, but if you go back on I feel like I was the only person that watched that game. It was a great game, too. NC Takeoff took Carolina Stars down to the wire. And the only reason Carolina Stars won is because they threw a bomb with like 5 seconds left, and Will Shipley came down with an amazing catch for a touchdown. But NC Takeoff, man, even though they didn't advance deep into the tournament, I thought they really turned some heads by having just all underclassmen, not a lot of big-time players, and they came to play, and I thought that they really caught my attention. I thought NC Takeoff, and they do things the right way. I was talking to their coach, and the way they're running that program out there in the Carolinas is really dope to see. Yeah, man, I thought they were good. I thought one team that we haven't mentioned, I'm trying to scroll through here. One team that we haven't mentioned, Pass ATL. You said in a tweet you thought they were a top 25 team. Yeah. You didn't mention them.
Yeah.
What do you think about Pass ATL?
First of all, they looked the part, man. When I walked out there, they were all giants, and so that was that. First of all, that eyeball test, they passed it with flying colors. They had a lockdown corner that was really good. Has a bunch of offers, but they were a good team. But they got tired at the end. I think they let Cam Newton get in their head a little bit, and so when that happened, they kind of got flustered and started worrying more about talking trash and instead of winning the game, and that kind of got them out their game, and they ended up losing. And so I just gave Cam a little bit of momentum, and they were able to keep it rolling. But they've been out to Vegas. They did well. They went down to Orlando. They did well. But they always run into a monster, you know what I'm saying? They always run into – they lost to Cam Newton Blue, you know what I'm saying, who won the tournament. So they're always running into the team that goes on to win the thing, and that's just kind of unfortunate. But, had they played somebody else, I could have seen them kind of going and running the table. Yeah,
I mean, they still made it to the Elite Eight. I thought they were really impressive. It was funny. I was watching I don't even remember exactly who I was watching, but I ran into our camera guy, Ben Cole, and he was like, have you seen this team in black? They're just all huge guys.
They were
and I was
gigantic.
like, I'll go check them out and ask who they are. And I went down there and it was Pass ATL. And I had heard about Pass ATL. This was my first time really focusing in on them. And I mean, they did have some really good players. You mentioned their lockdown corner, Joey Hunter, who I think is going to get a big boom as far as a rankings bump. And I think Brian Branch, who's a 4-star guy, was really, really impressive as well. He's going to make an Oviedo Oklahoma. He has a ton of offers. I think he was one of the top players at the tournament. They had a really good secondary. I think their offense was kind of on and off, and that's what limited them a little bit. But I thought Pass ATL was very good as well. I think that about wraps it up, unless you have any final thoughts on Atlanta. All right, well, then we'll move on to, like I said, my favorite tournament, man. I know Vegas is the Mecca.
Vegas is the Mecca.
But New Orleans is so fun, man.
Because they're creatures, man. It's a different type of vibe when you go down there, man. So much culture. so many good football players, man. You know, they bring that, and you get that when you walk onto the field in New Orleans, man. They are coming to play. It's an airy field all the time, man. It's just a very good place to play football in general, and 7-on-7 is the home. So
yeah, no, it's a great setting. I remember that's the tournament I really fell in love with. 7-on-7 was a couple of years ago. Fast Beat, the Bootleggers in the championship, and that Fast team had Brennan Eagles, and Jalen Green, and Tay Barber, all these big D1 guys, and it was so fun. It was the best tournament ever. And that's when I was really man, 7-on-7 so sick. I can't wait to keep coming out to tournament. So I'm super excited for New Orleans. I thought the New Orleans tournament last year was very good. I think the New Orleans tournament this year is going to be better, and I'm very, very excited. So let's talk about some of the teams. I have a little list pulled up here. Let's go ahead and start with, obviously, the host team, the Bootleggers. Yeah. We saw them in Las Vegas, and they didn't really make that deep of a run. They were kind of like C1M Black in a sense that they have all these big-time guys. It was their first all these big-time guys, but they weren't really, again, efficient as a team. What were your takes from the Bootleggers, and what are you expecting from them in this tournament?
I'm expecting the Bootleggers to represent their home, right? I mean, they did not like going out in the fashion that they went out in Las Vegas. You want to come to Vegas, to the Mecca, and really, show that you're a national team, and they didn't get that opportunity to do that. But on pool play, though, they were running the show. I mean, they scored every drive for 2 straight games, and that was super impressive. They're fast, they're big. They had a quarterback that can deliver the ball where it needs to be, and receivers that make plays. Their defense is stacked. I like them, but it was cold out in Vegas. It was 100 and something teams, and when you don't come focused to play, you can get knocked off just pretty easily. And so I think that they have a little chip on their shoulder and they're ready to come back.
When is the last time the Bootleggers won their tournament? Because this is considered, even though it's Pylon New Orleans, this is also considered the Bootleggers tournament. So. Yeah. It's been a while. Yeah. I mean, I can't remember one. I mean, last year they made it to the championship game and lost. So I think they are going to be playing. Well,
they did win the Pylon New Orleans at Gormley, and they won that one pretty convincingly. And they were loaded. Stingley went off, and then we had the Bootlegger Invitational. And, they ran into Air Raid in the championship. And Air Raid is a very good 7-on-7 team. I mean, it's a bunch of the high school kids that are in College Station on the same team. And that's a program, right? They play from 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, and then high school all the way together. And so, they're a tough team to beat. Bootleggers could have won that game. It went either way, but they did win. They did win last year in New Orleans at the Pylon event, but not the Bootleggers.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, I feel like they haven't won the big one, in their home area. Yeah. So I think this is the big one. I think they are going to have an opportunity to win it, especially since they have experience under their belt. But they just have to come together more as a team. I think their defensive backfield's really impressive. They have Joel Williams, a 4-star guy, Major Burns, who's committed to Texas A&M. Those 2 guys right there are really their leaders on defense. And I think that, when you have a really, really good secondary, obviously, in 7-on-7, you can make
True Buzz is coming.
Yes.
True Buzz is coming.
We'll get to the Texas guys.
Texas boys are coming.
We'll get to
They ain't running from nothing. And True Buzz, when they come to play every single time.
We'll get to True Buzz in a bit, but I'm just trying to give the Bootleggers their due love.
Their due love.
They do have playmakers on offense. Coy Moore, Ja'Kai Douglas. I mean, so they have the capability of winning it all. I just think, I don't know, for some reason it's like they get there, but they're never really able to win it all. So I'm interested to see the Bootleggers, obviously.
Ryan Clark, this is on you, sir. We're putting this on you, buddy.
And I mean, a lot of people were upset with the preseason rankings that I did, and it's like, what has the Bootleggers won lately? Like, really, what have they won lately? So, I mean, I'm not trying to call out Jimmy and all those guys. Those are still my dues, but I want to see them win. Yeah. So that's all I'm saying. Because winning matters. You can't rank the Bootleggers up there. They're not winning. So
gotta win. You gotta win.
Teams that have won. True Buzz.
True Buzz.
So let's go ahead and talk about True Buzz because you're excited to talk about
I'm always excited to talk about True Buzz because, they've been grinding so hard to get to where they're at, man. And to watch them in the first year, a couple guys, not even a 7-on-7 team, but just a training organization in the city. And to take it to where they've taken it, man, it's commendable. They're now a national brand as far as 7-on-7 is concerned. And when they go, they win. I mean, whatever tournament they play in, for the most part, they're somewhere hanging around the top 4, and they're a big deal. And so, coming down from Dallas to represent Texas, I'm sure they're going to come ready to go.
So True Buzz went to the Final Four in Orlando, which was extremely impressive. Like that tournament alongside Vegas was probably the most loaded tournament. So they made it to the Final Four in Orlando. They won Dallas, pretty handily. Like they pretty much beat everybody by a good margin, even Grind in the championship game, which Grind has been very good this season. But I thought True Buzz was just dominant in Dallas. And they, that, like you talked about program and air raid, True Buzz is a program. They've built this thing from the ground up. And I think the last year in general, and maybe even the year before that, it was the Dalen Wright show. It's all about Dalen Wright, throw Dalen Wright the fade ball, you can make a play. This is, and I told Coach Moss this, I said, this is your best team. This is your best 7-on-7 team you've ever had. When we were
Ken Seals runs that ship, man. He's a good quarterback. He manages the game well. He's accurate as any quarterback in the country. He's calm and collective, and they listen to him, right? A lot of times you get these big-time kids from all over, the city or the state or whatever, and egos play a part. I mean, it's just, it's just the nature of 7-on-7 club type of sports. And, they, as you say, they're a program, but Ken Seals is what makes that thing go. When he tells everybody to shut up, everybody shuts up. And that's a testament to him as a quarterback. And it's a testament to the respect for him. And when you have a good quarterback in 7-on-7 play, you're able to do some things, even if you're undermanned or undersized or underskilled or whatever. When you have good quarterback play, you're probably going to do good in 7-on-7.
He's just a really hard worker. I was talking to my coworker at 24/7 Sports, Mike Roach, about Ken Seals, and he just goes to everything. He's a competitor. He's at every single camp, regardless whether it's a major, like the opening type of camp or if it's some backyard boogie camp. Ken Seals is there competing. He's a competitor. He's a great kid. I've never heard Ken Seals cuss on the field at all. Yeah. Like I've never heard him cuss at all. He is always, hello, Mr. Holland, shoot. And he doesn't say, sure. I think he's just a really good kid. And he, like you said, he commands respect. They have some electric playmakers all over the field. Donajay is done. I think is extremely underrated prospect. The guy that's just such a shifty slot receiver, and he does some pretty awesome touchdown dances. So I'm excited to see him. Ty Jordan, he's a monster, man. We have him listed as a running back, but he's much more than that. I mean, he runs routes like a D1 receiver. He's their guy in the slot anytime they need a big play. Ty Jordan comes away with it, and he's also a program guy. He's been with True Buzz forever. And on defense, they have some really good players. Ryan Watts, Jahari Rogers are both 4-star DBs. So they're just loaded. They have good talent, and they have good camaraderie. And like we said, it's not always about True Buzz has really good recruits, but they're a program. And that's what makes them so dangerous. We have some other teams coming out from the state of Texas. Juice from Austin, they always have kids from the 512. They like to represent another team that's trying to do it the right way, trying to build a program, dominate the day. Doug Smith is doing a good job of getting some more under the radar guys from the Houston, Louisiana area, but more so based in Houston. All in is one team I'm excited to see.
they play scrappy, man. They play mean. They play physical. They move how their coaches coach, and they coach hard. I mean, they're representing Houston to the fullest, and so All In always does a good job, and I'm excited to see them. I'm excited to see a couple of other teams. I'm excited to see EPS Blaze. I'm not sure the prospects that they have on the team, but again, they always go out and compete extremely hard. They went out to the Adidas tournament and did well. And so I'm just excited to watch them play. These are teams that we haven't seen on the circuit yet. And so New Orleans is going to present a whole new vibe for us. It's going to give us a whole new list of teams that we need to be watching out for. And I'm certain that they're going to shake up some rankings.
Yeah, I mean, going back to All In, I think Justin Allen does a really good job. He's one of the better trainers in the state of Texas. And they have a 4-star receiver, Troy O'Meara. They have Josh White at linebacker, who's just a really scrappy player. You mentioned that they're a scrappy team. I think All In can really make that. Last year was their first year as a program. This year I'm expecting them to make that big jump. So really excited to see All In. You mentioned EPS plays. TJ Finley, LSU quarterback commit, will be their commander. He was really great on the circuit last year. I remember going up to TJ Finley when he had maybe 1 or 2 offers and just being like, who is this?
Yeah.
Because he was out there slinging it. So he's kind of blown up, and I think I'm not really sure exactly what else EPS plays has around him. I'm waiting to get the roster, so, send that to me, please.
Yeah, sure.
Matthew Joseph, please send me your roster.
Please get us the rosters. And so that's why we signed up on Zork, so that you guys can have the opportunity to put your roster in, make sure that all the credentials are right, so that we can make sure everybody's in the right age group and right age bracket and, those things. So Zork Sports app, we appreciate everything you guys do for us. At Pylon is one of our
no, send me a roster, Matthew Joseph. But for APS plays, I think it's going to be a team that impresses. Like All In, they're just scrappy. They're just, I think I ranked EPS plays I had as the Bootleggers just because I thought they're a really good team. Last year, they compete well in the Pylon circuit. They compete well in the Adidas circuit. So, I mean, they're just one of those teams that always gets the job done. So I'm expecting them to make a deep run. Your boys from Florida are coming out, Birch Sports.
Birch Sports is always loaded, man. They run a great program. And so Florida boys always come in and do their thing, man. It's going to be exciting. The thing I like about 7-on-7 is getting an opportunity to see kids and teams from different cities and different states that'll never play against each other, never see each other, the different styles of play. Florida kids, Birch Sports out of Jacksonville, they're big and they're fast. They play with a whole different type of swag, that Florida swag. And so, Birch Sports is definitely going to be one of the teams that comes in and represents. They always represent.
Birch Sports has some players, and we saw them in Orlando, and they didn't exactly make a huge run, but I think, that they were just starting to get going, and I think they're,
that's the first tournament of the year.
That's the first tournament of the year. But they were still impressive there. They're physically imposing. Like I said, they do have a lot of recruiting talent as well. So I think Birch Sports is kind of the sleeping giant in this tournament. And I think a lot of these regional teams are going to be like, who's Birch Sports? Yeah. And they're going to make a run. Yeah. So I'm interested to see them. You got some upcoming Louisiana teams, Showboats. They sent me their roster today. They have a couple of kids. You mentioned Slime U. Before we started this podcast. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a really, really fun tournament. I'm sure we'll have some other teams surprise. I mean, we didn't even talk about Max X the last podcast. They kind of just went out there and really caught everybody's attention. So, that's kind of it for New Orleans. But before we get out of this segment, who is going to win the chip? You got to give your prediction before the tournament.
Bootleggers.
You're going to take the Bootleggers.
I'm going to take the Bootleggers. They are going to represent their home. They're not going to let somebody come in and take it off of them. So I'm going with the Bootleggers.
I'm going with True Buzz.
You're going with True Buzz.
I'm going to say the Bootleggers don't get it done again. Yeah. Sorry, Jimmy. I'm going to say the True Buzz wins this. Yeah. And I think the Bootleggers will likely make it to the championship. Yeah. But I think True Buzz is
They're always in the championship.
They're always in the
championship. So, it takes a lot to win. It is not hard to win. I mean, it's not. It's very difficult to win. And they get there, and they don't get over the hump. But I think this weekend they represent.
I'm going with True Buzz. For all the reasons we talked about earlier. Just True Buzz is used to these tournaments. They've played in more tournaments than the Bootleggers have. I feel like True Buzz is playing every weekend, whether it's, out scrimmaging other teams or playing in a loaded Orlando or in a Dallas league play. Like, they're always playing together. And so I think that's going to make such a big difference. We talked about Ken Seals, Ty Jordan, Ryan Watts, Jahari Rogers, who they didn't even have Jahari Rogers in Orlando. That's going to make a huge difference for their defense. So
and watch it be neither.
Watch it be neither. Right?
Watch it be neither.
It's like a C1N Blue that just comes in and plays well and gets to the championship. But no, I really feel like True Buzz has all the potential in the world. And so I love what they bring to the table. And, I just mentioned True Buzz playing in just some scrimmages. It seems like a big time. We're going to go into our final segment, which is going to be kind of controversial. And the way I'm going to segue into this is this year it seems like, 7-on-7 has gotten so popular since I first went out to the Pylon Championship at Cowboy Stadium, which I think it was Cowboy Stadium, not AT&T Stadium at that time. So I'm going to say Cowboy Stadium. And it had Benjamin and Devontae Smith, and it had some of these bigger name guys, and that was it was just Pylon, and it was really nothing else. And now 7-on-7 has exploded, it seems, over the last couple of years, and there's been more and more smaller tournaments or just tournaments in general popping up, and on Twitter they've kind of been referred to as the backyard boogies. So, Baron, you're going to have a lot to say in this segment. What do you have to say about these tournaments?
Well, first of all, I think anytime kids can be out playing football, it's a good deal, right? When you're an athlete and like talk about Ken Seals, he got a lot of praise and a lot of props just now because he's a competitor and he just goes out and plays, which is a great thing. But with a lot of the tournaments that are popping up right now called backyard boogies, the tournaments aren't run really well. And that is a knock and a black eye on the entire sport and on the industry, right? We already have haters all over the place and don't play with a club team, or 7-on-7 doesn't help you with recruiting, and all of the naysayers saying all of the things that they have to say about 7-on-7. These guys who are just running tournaments without actually knowing how to run tournaments. It kind of gives credence to what some of the people who are naysayers have to say. It kind of gives that stuff credence. And I don't want to in particular point out any other tournament, but it's unfortunate a lot of times, man. These teams, because Pylon isn't everywhere every weekend, we totally understand that the supply has to meet the demand, and the demand is crazy right now. But if you're going to do it, you should do it right. And, if you're not going to do it right, if you're not going to have security at your events, if you're not going to have insurance for your events, if you're going to play in parks where the grass is up to your knees, it's like, or your schedule, 4 and 5 hours off. It's like, it'll make people who have not experienced a really good event, a Pylon event, an Adidas event, a passing down event, an NFA event, shouting you guys out, giving you guys some love because you do it the right way. And those guys do run amazing tournaments. And so when you don't experience that for your first time and you're a brand new club, there's a lot of brand new clubs and they go to these boogies, it'll push parents away, it pushes coaches away, and they just say, I'm done with the entire thing. And so, I just ask that these guys who want to get in, who want to do it, they take it seriously. This is a business. It's an industry, right? When people ask me what I do for a living, I don't say I run football camps. I say I'm an event planner. That's what I do. I don't know all the recruits anymore and things like that. But, when you come to a Pylon event, we're going to start on the right time. We're going to end at the right time. We're going to have security. So if something gets out of hand, our guys get over there and can corral a situation while everything else is going on and not affected. And so those are some of the things that are glaring when you look at these boogies. And so, the boogies are not good for the culture. They're not good for the culture. And if you're running them, it takes nothing to look at the people who are doing it the right way to kind of mimic what they're doing and make sure that you have your security there. Make sure that the lights come on when you're on the field and it turns night and things like that. So those are my feelings on the backyard book.
I think, I tweeted a couple of weeks ago and people had a bunch of negative reaction to it. I tweeted the only 7-on-7 tournaments that I consider major are Pylon, obviously, and Adidas. And Passing Down does a good job from what you told me out west. I've never been to a Passing Down. I'd like to go to. But I've been to Adidas, and they do a tremendous job. Ryan Lacey and those guys really do a great job. When I went out, a month ago, I told you, hey, I'm going to go out to Adidas. And you're like, yeah, man, that's cool because, we respect what they do, and they do a good job of running a tournament. But I've also been to some backyard boogies in the past, and I don't feel like I really do them anymore. I don't really cover them anymore just because, one, when you play in a pylon, you know you're going to get talent everywhere. Like, I had so much trouble putting together top performers. I was like, am I going to put 30 kids on this top performers list? Like, I need to cut this down. Yeah. You're going to have so many big-time players there. A lot of times at backyard boogies, you'll get the team, but you won't get the right team. Yeah. You won't get the A team. You'll get the C team.
Quality over quantity. That is a major key to the backyard boogie. It looks like you're not doing it for the right reasons when you're just getting a ton of teams and you're not doing it the right way, and then you're not getting the right teams, and you're not getting the right coverage, and then it's like they're going out and playing, and it is again supplying the demand, which again I will take some heat for that, not doing things every weekend in major cities, but that's not what Pylon is. We do our circuit, we do our series, and we give these teams an opportunity to play on Pylon once or twice in the season, or they could travel to a third or a fourth. And so we're not there to supply the demand. And so it's really like, quality is so much better than quantity. If you're not going to be on time in your schedule, and if you're not going to have the field to accommodate the number of teams, run a tournament if you don't have those teams. And I'm giving y'all some free game because I love 7-on-7. Again, this is my baby. It is my brainchild. Everything that is happening in 7-on-7 has been done, 12 years ago when there was nobody else doing it. When I was putting the rosters together with my brother-in-law by ourselves, when there weren't any teams. And so, these things are tips for you guys who are running them, because I don't mind helping out the culture and putting out the culture, because Pylon is always, in my opinion, going to be the best. We're always going to be a step ahead and be innovative and give the kids an awesome opportunity to compete. Vendors and sponsors and concession stands and trainers. I mean, just from the fact of having trainers at your event. If you don't, you'll have tournaments where a kid gets hurt and they're just sitting there for an hour. Like, where's your trainers at? And so those are just some of the things that we have messed up for, in previous years, 12 years ago. Those are all things that you learn through the process. But now I feel like there's enough organizations and enough 7-on-7s and enough people who are doing them the right way where you don't have to come in and do it the wrong way.
Yeah, I mean, some key differences that I noticed just as a reporter going out there. One, I mentioned the talent, and I tweeted back at someone, I go, where the talent goes. And it's not that there isn't talent at some of these backyard boogies. There is. I do like finding some sleeper guys, but you have to impress me. I'm not just going to write about you because someone says, write about this kid, he's a sleeper. Like Jaheim Jenkins for Domo was awesome. I'm going to write about that kid all day because he was great. Anton Coney for Miami Immortals, Morris Hall for Miami Immortals. Those guys were great. But I'm talking about talent consistently. There's consistent talent at Pylon. There's consistent talent at Adidas. I do have a job to do as a reporter, to go see the major talent that people want to read about. Obviously, that's my obligation. Number one. Number two, the things that things that I don't see at the backyard boogies that I do see at major tournaments. You mentioned trainers. That's huge, man. Like, there's literally over here at some of the backyard boogies, it's just like if someone gets hurt, it's like, oh no, what do we do? Call the ambulance. Yeah. So there's nobody around. You mentioned security. There's always security at Pylon events. There's always security at Adidas events. At these backyard boogies, if there's a fight. We just saw it on Twitter. There was a fight, and they canceled the whole tournament because they didn't have proper security out there. That's like, how much would it
pay a lot of
That's
money?
what I was going to say. How much would it suck to pay $1,000 entry fee, and then some other rando team has to fight, and the whole tournament gets canceled? So, that's another thing. And the schedule. My God, there's nothing you hate more as a reporter. You already have a tournament that's going to be ball. You're already preparing for that. I mean, the players too. It's not just about the reporters. I'm not crying because I have to be out there. I mean, I enjoy being out there, but if we're going to be out there from 8 a.m. to midnight, I mean, that's too much. That's too much on players. Like, I was talking to some coaches about one of the backyard boogies, and it's like they went 4 hours off schedule. It was at that point the kids were just like, "Oh my God,
I'm ready to go home.
Yeah, I'm ready to go home." Yeah. So I mean, staying on schedule is huge. There's always At Pylon, we're always within an hour of it or there. I mean, Adidas, so there was no problem staying on time there. So staying on time is huge, and there's just so many things that can go wrong when you're on that period of time. Kids are playing, tired, so they're more likely to get hurt. The team just gets dysfunctional. They get frustrated. Some teams don't eat during that period because they're just consistently playing games because the schedule's all messed up. So that, and then the last thing that's really interesting, I think, is when you play Pylon or you play some of these other good tournaments that we've mentioned, referees. You have 3 or 4 referees on the field at the same time. So, yeah, we bagged on the refs. some calls earlier. That's going to happen no matter what. NFL, college, you're going to miss some calls. But there's always multiple referees on the field at the same time. In the backyard bookies, there's one referee, and it's like, how can you control this game, if you're one referee?
In industry standard, right, and Pylon is going to head this up. We are going to do a coaches association this year. We will have our coaches association meeting in Dallas during 4th of July weekend when the opening is, when all of the 7-on-7 coaches who have big time players, most of their players are going to be at the opening. And so we will do something to bring all of the coaches as far as the association, because there has to be industry standard, right? I know people talk about, the cost of things, and, everybody wants to always talk cost. And I get that because cost matters. But the fact of the matter is, if you're running a tournament for anything under $500, and I'm going to guarantee that they don't have good facility, they don't have 3 refs on the field, they don't have insurance, they don't have a trainer on site. And those are just indications, because it's hard numbers, right? I mean, unless you have a major sponsor, which again, that makes Adidas awesome because it's a major sponsor, they're able to underwrite all of those things, and a team doesn't have to, fill those costs. But when you don't have industry standard and you just have backyard boogies or anybody just trying to get in the game because they want to run a 7-on-7 to supply the demand, if you're not charging the right prices, they're not going to have the right things. You wouldn't buy a car that is supposed to be an expensive car for under what it's valued, because you're like, okay, is this a clunker? Is it going to die out on me? Did it get caught in a flood? So on and so forth. And so I always look at things like that, man. As soon as I see a price on an event, and then I look at their sponsors and who's going to be there, you can automatically tell what type of events it's going to be. And again, it's not about charging teams out the ass, man. That's not what it's about, right? And I don't even think if you look at other sports, baseball, volleyball, hockey, lacrosse, who run great events across the board, those prices are always higher end prices because the facilities cost, referees cost, right? Three referees on the field, that's going to run you $75 an hour. I mean, that's just what it is, right? I'm going to say it right now because it just is what it is. You call a referee, it's going to be $25 an hour. You got 3 of them on the field, that's $75 an hour. Now you got 4 and 5 fields, it starts to add up. And so, I want people to understand, one, why prices are what they are and what you're getting for those prices. And for 2, make sure that as a coach that you are being, you're being on top of it. You're looking into it. You're seeing exactly what you're going to be in. What did they do last year? How did it run? Because what I don't want to have happen is these backyard boogies, somebody gets injured, and next thing you know, it's a big time recruit, and now coaches all over the country are like, I don't want that happening to my player. Now, granted, injuries and things like that can happen anywhere, but if you're not prepared for it, then that's on you, right? I mean, a kid could get hurt walking down the steps. Okay, cool, freak accident. Kid could get hurt in a bang 7-on-7 play. Cool, freak accidents happen. But are you prepared when those things happen? And if you're not, you shouldn't be running them. And coaches, you shouldn't be supporting it.
Right, and I think the last thing I'll say on this is 7-on-7 is supposed to be for the kids. Yeah, like I said, I want to see the major stars there, but also give us an opportunity to see guys like Jaheim Jenkins and Anton Tonys of the world. It should be for the kids to get exposure, to improve their skill set, to have fun traveling the United States, something they never really get to do. I mean, a lot of these kids are from lower income areas. They don't really get to travel. I mean, I flew on a plane once. I had never been out of Texas since I was 21. I wish I was, would have been on a 7-on-7 team.
Right.
Would have been great to
I had a kid
around.
ask me one time, and this is when I knew we were doing something special. He said, do I have to bring sheets and towels to the hotel? He didn't know if he needed to pack his own sheets and towels. He had never been in a hotel. He had never been out of the city. And so, there are a lot of benefits when it comes to 7-on-7 and club sports and travel ball and things like that, because, exposure to colleges is cool. Exposure to recruiting services, that's cool. That's obviously a part of what Pylon provides. That is what we stand on. We want to get you guys exposed to college. But, when I heard that, I was like, man, we're doing something that's even bigger than this, man. Maybe a kid's not a Division I kid. Maybe he's a Division II kid. Maybe he's just out there having fun. He's having an experience that'll shape the way he thinks and moves forward for the rest of his life. Because I'm a firm believer that once you see something, you can never say, I didn't know, right? If you don't know what you don't know, that's fine, right? I mean, and there's kids like that. But once you see it and it's in your face, then now you can make a conscious decision to say, you know what, I seen that, I want that, and you'll be better off for that. And a lot of these 7-on-7 coaches are doing an amazing job at getting these kids these experiences, these lifelong experiences. And so those are exposure opportunities that aren't necessarily always talked about and aren't always praised, man. You're in an amazing position to be successful in life 40 years from now. And I would hate to see that end because, all of these tournaments just popping up and teams that just want to play and get some reps go to one of these things and then it messes it up. I mean, and one bad apple certainly does ruin the bunch.
Yeah, man. And like I said, it should be about the kids. Some of the facilities that, Pylon has played at, Lucas Oil in Indianapolis, Mercedes-Benz in Atlanta, AT&T here in Dallas. I mean, even the regional tournaments like Kennesaw State. Yeah, that's cool to have a 7-on-7 tournament in that. So,
which, by the way, almost all of the teams took a visit to that school. And so, picking your venues, that matters, right? Pylon, we make a conscious effort to have events in venues where kids can go and see colleges while they're out. In UNLV, in Vegas, they were able to go up to Dixie State in St. George, Utah, which is, less than 45 minutes away. Almost every team took a visit to UNLV. In Georgia, a lot of teams came down, seen Georgia, Morehouse. I know Max X did the Black College Tour deal. And that's on par with our entire schedule. I mean, we look at things like that. What are these kids playing on in LA? We're playing in Pacific Palisade, Pylon, and some of the things that you get with some of these better run organizations, because facilities matter. I mean, and people don't think that they matter as much as they do until they go to a bad venue and they're like, oh man, I just came from Mercedes-Benz Stadium. It's like, it's kind of a step down. And so I'm just asking, man, if you guys are going to do it, step your game up. Don't just try to follow the Joneses, grab a couple dollars here and there because you think that you have an opportunity to, get rich quick off of doing something, because it's not like that, man. Step your game up, do it right, man. Be a boss. If you want to sit at the table, sit at the table.
We will leave it at that, man. So we'll end the podcast here, guys. Thanks for joining us. As always, follow the Pylon Twitter account @Pylon 7-on-7. We do have some things in the work as far as bringing you different types of content. You can find the podcast, obviously, if you're listening to it on SoundCloud. It will be on iTunes soon. I'm working on that. So it will be there probably after the New Orleans tournament. Our YouTube channel is going to be up and running, and we're on YouTube Live right now, so make sure to go follow that. And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. You can follow me at EJ Allen 24/7 for all types of videos and updates and everything from New Orleans. Pylon should be a fun show. I'm ready to eat some Cajun food, man. I'm ready to get out there. I'm ready to make this 8-hour drive with our media guy Ben Cole So it should be a great one. Baron, anything you want to add to get us out of here?
I do. I want to thank our sponsors. I want to thank the Four Seasons, Dallas, for allowing us to use their beautiful hotel to shoot our podcast every week. We will go to a couple different places, but right now they've been extremely gracious to us in allowing us to do this. And then I also want to thank Battle. One of is our major sponsor. They are our key sponsor to help us put on these events. They do an amazing job, and we're appreciative of what they do because they give these kids an opportunity to have a quality event by being a big-time sponsor. So we thank you guys. We appreciate you guys for always watching and supporting what we do. Coaches, kids, parents, nationals. The winner of each event automatically qualifies for nationals in Atlanta, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, Memorial Day weekend. It's going to be epic. We got some things up our sleeve that we're not going to talk about right now, but just trust me, we are going to make that one of the greatest events in the country.
Also, rankings coming next week. We'll have a special show for that. We'll give you all the details. We're waiting for this big NOLA pylon to finish so we can give you the full-scale rankings. Like Baron said, we're going to see some new teams. So, again, make sure to follow us for everything 7-on-7 on Pylon, 7-on-7. Appreciate you guys for joining us.
I'm going to use the restroom.